furious action gamer.
You know, you do some kind of freaky ritual. I don't want to say satanic, but it was to help write this stupid script. Because, I gotta be honest, I'm already getting a little bit burnt out. But this is what I get. Harvester is like if Poop and Pee had a baby, and you were a baby-eating cannibal, and you had to eat the baby. What? If what that's saying is saying what I think it could be saying, I completely disagree. I liked my time with Harvester. You wake up as Steve in his bedroom in the small town of Harvest. Steve has never heard of Harvest. He has no memory of how he got there. He goes downstairs to meet his family straight out of 1950s Leave It to Beaver, who he also can't remember. No one believes he has amnesia in the first place, with the famous line, "You always were a kidder, Steve." Your dad is sick in bed. Your brother only wants to watch TV, and your mother is endlessly baking cookies for the upcoming bake sale, a benefit for all of Harvest's homeless people. But something's off about your family. Something is off about everyone in Harvest.
Well, they say a sharp blow to the head is a good thing for amnesia.
And her with a little girl to raise. That child needs a father. And Edna, well, she needs a good hard penis.
If an A-bomb hits, what good is it gonna do to duck and cover?
It immediately feels so isolating and creepy. The only other seemingly normal character is a girl named Stephanie, who is supposed to be your fiancée and also has amnesia. And so begins your quest. Just figure out what's going on. It's immediately intriguing. I'll be the first to tell you, I hate adventure games. Weird, obtuse uses for items, sifting through dialogue to trigger events, clicking around on everything like an asshole. But there's something about this game to the extent that when I played it for the first time, for this video, I did it all in one sitting. I was hooked. I loved tracking down new characters just to see what they had to say and exhausting every bit of dialogue. The game even has a text field, so you can write down your own keywords to ask people about for some secret dialogue.
What a thing to say to your mother. Was that an invitation now that your father is out of action? Maybe later, dear. Right now I have housework to do. Though you can watch if you want. Don't forget to put the papers out for Jimmy. You know how he gets.
As you explore the town at your leisure, everybody keeps bringing up the Lodge and how big of a deal it is, and that it's everybody's biggest hope and dream to become a member. And in fact, it seems like that's all they care about.
Kind of makes up for not getting into the lodge.
The whole thing has been organized by the Lodge.
You should be thinking about running the family business one day. That, getting into the lodge.
And so that's got to be the place to start. Maybe becoming a member of the lodge would shed some light on what's going on in Harvest. First things first, to get into the lodge, you have to apply. The applications are at the post office. The postmaster only seems to have the master copy left. And so, here we fucking go. So the postmaster is, he's getting hounded by the sheriffs of town. They seem to think that he burnt down the newspaper building. And so I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll go investigate the newspaper building. And what I find are the ruins of a brick building. It's been completely torched. There in the ashes is a shovel. Grab the shovel, dig through the ashes. Bingo. Scrap of paper that says, bake. Bake sale? Surely not. Maybe the newspaper company was trying to run a story that would have been inconvenient for some people. So I go and investigate the sheriff's department. And these guys are freaks. You get a clue from the sheriff's deputy, Loomis, that he likes the nudie mags from the general store, but the lady at the store is friends with his wife, so she won't sell them to him. Buddy, we all been there, I'll help you out. So I buy him these magazines for pocket change. And he immediately takes him back to the holding cells and, plays detective. Roughs up the suspect. leaving you free to go through all of his stuff. Where you find a note implying that the postmaster is being blackmailed by the sheriff because they've got evidence that the postmaster burnt down the newspaper building.
Hello, Steve. Where's Loomis?
You'll be coming around the mountain if you come. Oh, that's it.
Loomis, damn you!
Wait, no. No!
Straining up the mattress again! Folding up the towels! Charming the snake!
But if you were to sneak in and steal the evidence that they've got on the postmaster to blackmail him, maybe he'd help you out with that master copy. And that he does! And I'm not going to go through the entire plot of the game, that's just the intro, but there's no way I can't say anything about the end. So really, if you've never played it, and you think maybe you might someday, possibly, in the future, yeah, spoilers from here on out. But you take the application to the lodge. From there, each day you're given tasks, and they're all petty crimes and pranks. Key a guy's car, steal the barber's barber pole. As it goes on, it slowly ramps up, till finally you burn down a single mother's diner. Distraught with grief, you find that she's hung herself in the burnt-out building, but not before also hanging her own daughter. Jesus. This was the scene that was sort of the tipping point for me, that the fun and games were truly over. After a few more trials and tribulations, Steve finally makes his way into the lodge itself, and this is where I could see the game being truly divisive, because it's suddenly a completely different combat-focused action game. Ascending through the lodge is a fucking tournament arc, as every character is in your way to progressing and must be eliminated in some of the best digitized gore I've ever seen. And they're weirdos. That's what I meant by like a shonen anime tournament arc. It's such a funny mood shift from being grossed out by the horror of ruining people's lives and little girls being kidnapped and buried alive, to laughing at the absurdity of cutting people to pieces with a scythe. And I guess that's why it works. That's the entire point of Harvester. You're slowly desensitized to the horror and violence. This goofy murder spree in the lodge goes on for so long that it eventually becomes repetitive and boring. In a game where you've been talking to people the entire time and solving little puzzles, the joy of slaughtering in the lodge is cathartic at first, and then the laughter slowly dies and you feel numb. And finally, at the top of the tower, it's revealed this town exists to cultivate serial killers. Yeah, that's it. The Town of Harvest is a virtual reality video game that Steve is trapped in as an experiment to make a serial killer in real life. This is 1996, like 3 years before The Matrix. You gotta choose. Stay in Harvest and marry the girl, or wake up, leave the game as a harvester. A psycho with a thirst for killing. Then, in complete sincerity, the game allows you to perform a Mortal Kombat fatality on Stephanie, and it's kinda great. Steve wakes up in the lab that's running the simulation. He's welcomed into the world of harvesters, and then, in a Russian stacking doll of a development, we see this too is a simulation. The real Steve playing the computer game Harvester. It's easily one of the all-time greats.
What are you doing, son?
Playing Harvester.
That thing? I looked at it the other day. The very thought. Breeding serial killers. It's disgusting.
It's cool.
You'll rot your mind playing games like that. Don't you know people who watch violence become violent themselves?
That's bullshit, Mom.
No, it isn't. Why do you think they started cutting the violence out of those Roadrunner cartoons?
Roadrunner cartoons. Roadrunner cartoons?